Good morning, everybody. Soon after Japan attacked us at Pearl Harbor, December 7, 1941, we pursued a step-by-step strategy in our war with Japan. We basically started in the seas and islands near Australia and moved north. And it was on this date, November 24 in 1944, that some B-29 bombers hit an aircraft production factory near Tokyo. The first time those heavy bombers got close to that nation's capital city. B-29, they were first designed in the late 1930s as the Army Air Corps anticipated war with Japan in the Pacific and the need for a long-distance bomber to go at least 3,000 miles. They were worked on during the 1940s and had their first mission in early 1944. The red line on this map shows the extent of the success of the Japanese military in 1942. The far right on the red star, you see Pearl Harbor. And within that red line was Indonesia. And this is the Battle of Java Sea in early 1942, where the Allied Navy was simply overwhelmed by the Japanese Navy and was defeated. But a month later, the Doolittle raid happened. Jimmy Doolittle took some land-based bombers and put them on an aircraft carrier. They bombed Tokyo, and then they went on to China, where they crash-landed. Most of them survived. And while it didn't damage Japan militarily, it was a big morale booster for our side. Soon after that was the Battle of the Coral Sea down by Australia and New Guinea. This was the first battle in World War II where the opposing ships did not see each other, and it was all aircraft carriers. And soon after that in June was the turning point in the Pacific War, the Battle of Midway, where 4 Japanese carriers were sunk. So from then on, Japan's on the defensive. Down in the islands near Australia, we have Guadalcanal and other islands where ferocious fighting happened. The Guadalcanal campaign went on for months. And one of the significant things about Guadalcanal was this airstrip. This is called Henderson Field. And a lot of these islands had airstrips, and it reminds us the importance of the airplane, whether it's from land or from an aircraft carrier. 2 years later, we're starting to move up toward the Philippines. This is the Battle of the Philippine Sea, also known as the Marianas Turkey Shoot. It's a big win for the United States, and it's revealing that we are becoming more and more overwhelming with our industrial power as we're cranking out ships and planes, tanks, etc. Also in the Philippines is the Battle of Leaty Gulf. This was a 3-day battle. It involved over 200,000 personnel. Many consider it the largest naval battle ever, and it was a huge win for the United States. And it was here that the kamikaze showed up, the suicide plane. There were about 4,000 kamikaze pilots that died, and about 7,000 Allied personnel were killed by the kamikazes. Here we see a B-29 flying over Tinian. This is the airfield at Tinian, an island in the Marianas. It became the largest airfield built in all of World War II by the Seabees, by our construction battalion. And here's our event for today, November 24, 1944. Some B-29s bombed an aircraft factory near Tokyo. And while it didn't do much damage, it was a sign of things to come. So you'll notice on this map, Tinian is at the bottom, and you see that airplane heading toward Japan. The 2 Japanese flags tell us where Okinawa and Iwo Jima are, and when the fighting happened there, it was really ferocious because it was so close to the Japanese home islands. Here's a picture of a flamethrower being used in Okinawa, where hundreds of thousands of the enemy were killed and 50,000 Americans were killed. In April, Franklin Roosevelt died. Harry Truman became president. He was president in May when Germany surrendered, and he was the one that ordered the dropping of the atomic bombs, which led to the Japanese surrender pictured here on the USS Missouri, September 2, 1945, thus ending the Pacific War.